Mundi is a name that carries great resentment and controversy within the Star Wars universe. Known as being a cold man in the name of the Force, bordering on sociopathy, Mundi is not very well liked in or out of the Star Wars universe. However, among the Jedi, he was a highly respected member of the Order, one who had hence held such darkness within him for a period of time and fury within the Jedi before renouncing himself from his old ways and becoming so apathetic within the Force that he was barely even a person at all. The Jedi respected Mundi though, as he was said to simply follow the will of the Force so closely that he was second only to Master Yoda in that regard. Despite his many shortcomings and how much of his clone battalion feared and openly disliked him, his own clone commander, nicknamed Bakara, held a begrudged respect for the Jedi Master that was enough for him to hesitate on Order 66, which almost cost all of the Galactic Marines their lives. We have released a video before about why Mundi sensed Order 66 and yet still died. But today we wanted to revisit that idea and expand upon that moment, that second and a half where the Marines hesitated and tipped Mundi off to their intentions, and attempt to explain exactly why this is, as well as why Mundi again sensed Order 66 but was unable to react. Unlike many of the other battalions that executed Order 66 the moment it was issued, the 21st Nova Corps actually made the decision to wait and kill Mundi when the moment was right, as he was a member of the Jedi Council known for his skill in combat. This actually made Mundi one of the last Jedi to die during Order 66, at least in its initial phase. They actually waited so long that Commander Bakara had to answer to Palpatine as to why he waited as long as he did, with the clone troopers' reasoning actually being very sound. As we stated earlier, Mundi was entirely sunken into the Force and exclusively followed its own will, just like Qui-Gon Jinn and Master Yoda. Though unlike those two Jedi, Mundi did not do so out of a sense of compassion and love for all living things, as he did so as a means to escape his own darkness and seek refuge within the light side. This actually had a remarkably different effect, as this actually made him apathetic as well as unemphatic to those around him. He even let his entire family die while doing and feeling absolutely nothing. However, because of his complete lack of any sort of emotional responsibility, he was able to entirely focus on the Force, which made him a very formidable opponent in combat. Time and time again, Bakara and the Marines watched Mundi viciously tore through waves of enemies and battle droids. The 21st Nova Corps was renowned for their relentless combat, and this is a good portion due to Mundi directly. This relentlessness, though, cost many lives of the Galactic Clone Marines, and thus they were often held a certain amount of contempt for the Jedi General. This contempt was also carried by Commander Bakara. However, he couldn't deny the results of Mundi's tactics, and therefore did carry somewhat of a begrudging respect for the Jedi Council member. Perhaps it would be this respect that would grant Bakara the foresight that the Marines needed to act cautiously, as Mundi had the power to absolutely dismantle those that opposed him if he so chose. After receiving Order 66, the Marines actually cut the comms off so Mundi wouldn't hear any of their radio chatter, and they waited until the next engagement. On the mining city of the planet of Mygeeto, there was a thin bridge that connected them to the larger city. This was the Clone Marines' chance. Keeping Mundi on the narrow way would disallow any room for him to move around, dodge, or escape. Finally, Mundi called for a forward assault and charged towards the bridge. The Separatists were keeping the bridge battered with tri-legged artillery droids, just like 100 times before. Mundi was reckless, sacrificing clone lives in order for victory. But now was the time, unlike many before. Right as they charged onto the bridge, the Marines skidded to a halt. Right here, they could have killed him instantly, and they waited for the first shot from their commander. But Bakara hesitated. In his mind, he was thinking about his respect for Mundi and how the Jedi Master had in fact saved his life on more than one occasion. However, those thoughts were overridden as he remembered all of the clone life that was lost under Mundi's command, every suicidal order, every time they were treated as expendable cannon fodder, and how the Jedi were doing the Separatist job for them by trying to overthrow the Chancellor, who Bakara had sworn to completely be loyal to his entire existence. Unfortunately, this slight hesitation during his thought process generated enough signature in the Force that Ki-Adi-Mundi suddenly felt the dark side. He paused as he felt his troopers' hearts and minds were no longer with him. He felt the dark side coming through Commander Bakara directly. Ki-Adi-Mundi turned around, and Bakara met his eyes. In that moment, the hesitation was over, and Bakara opened fire. The Marines followed suit and focused their pinpoint accurate shots at the Jedi Council member. Only 3 Marines succumbed to the Jedi Master in the end, which was a lot fewer casualties than they had ever suffered before, under the lead of this wretched Jedi Master. I don't believe that Ki-Adi-Mundi was the only Jedi that the clones might have actually enjoyed killing, as there were actually quite a few Jedi generals that mistreated their clone troopers, or simply had beef with them. For instance, even a Jedi like Quinlan Vos wasn't exempt from the wrath of his own legions. He and his clone commander butted heads all of the time, and Quinlan Vos was a bit more free-flowing in thinking, while his commander appreciated the strict protocol of the clone army. The commander thought of Vos as sloppy, and he took great pleasure in ordering his tank to fire on Quinlan Vos's position. There were many clone troopers that outright hated the Jedi, believing themselves to be slaves to their wider order, and in the case of many of them, it was all they needed to know that they had betrayed the Chancellor and the entirety of the Republic. While there were many clone troopers that executed the order begrudgingly, many did so with glee in their hearts, finally believing that the era of the Jedi was over and they would be free from their masters. But anyway, students of the Force, what are your thoughts on this, and what do you think? Many Jedi probably deserve to be put under the gun of those clones who they oppressed. But what are your thoughts on Commander Bakara essentially having to convince himself to execute Order 66 despite Ki-Adi-Mundi? This moment was of course in Legends continuity, so it was before the existence of the inhibitor chips in Star Wars canon. Still though, what are your thoughts on how Ki-Adi-Mundi oppressed his clone troopers? And much like a Jedi like Pong Krell, there were tons of clone casualties under the watch of Ki-Adi-Mundi. Do you actually believe in your heart that some Jedi may have deserved to die? And do you think that Ki-Adi-Mundi was one of them? As always, my friends, thank you guys so much for watching the channel and continuing to support it. May the Force be with you, and I hope that you have a great day.